to be talking about one of the all-time greats, Greg the Hammer Valentine. He was born into this business on September 20th, 1951, so we're not too far away from Mr. Hammer turning the big 7-0, so show him some love on social media. Of course, the Hammer's father was Johnny Valentine, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners, Bruce, they grew up in the golden age of the WWF. They may not be familiar with that name, Johnny Valentine. For those listeners who don't know, who is Johnny Valentine?
Johnny Valentine was from Seattle, Washington. Probably regarded as one of, if not the toughest wrestlers ever to lace up a pair of boots, especially in his heyday. He was a legit badass, man, and his matches were legendary for the brutality. And I dare say that any of your extreme guys over the last 15, 20 years that think they were extreme and think they were tough, I don't think would have lasted 5 minutes with Johnny Valentine. Heyday versus heyday. He was just that good and just that tough. But Johnny was the kind of guy that when he would come into a territory, reputation and all, drew everywhere, top guy everywhere. But Johnny took a long time to get over. But when he got over, he stayed over.
I recently had an opportunity to spend some time with Mr. Crockett, and he said that Johnny would be so slow and methodical in working a hold or a move that the fans hated it, but eventually they grew to hate him. Yeah. And that's when he knew he had them. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. But also, Johnny had the thing, it's like, hey, you may not believe that wrestling's real, but by God, you're going to believe that I am.
Yeah.
And that was the way Johnny approached the business and approached everything that he did. He had matches in Houston when I was growing up as a kid with Wahoo McDaniel and Bull Curry that were legendary. I mean, there's stuff out there with him and Bull Curry, and you just see, you see the flesh moving when they're punching each other in the face and in the head.
And those Valentine chops, the sweat would just fly off. There was no pulled punches there. It was full force, man.
Yeah, and I've got hanging over my fireplace in my office a shot of Dory Funk Jr. with a reverse chinlock on Johnny Valentine from the Sam Houston Coliseum that Jeff Winningham, a photographer from Friday Night in the Coliseum, took, and Marty Funk's dad painted. It just was... Johnny was the real deal, man. He was a badass, and he would come in and get over as the baddest heel in the business and in the territory, and he would beat everybody up. And then, when it was time, man, you turn that son of a bitch babyface, Katie barred the door. He was insane.
Did you ever hear any stories about Johnny Valentine, the Ribber?
Oh, yeah, lots of Johnny Valentine, the River. But okay, we're going to go back to that. Put a pin in that. Okay. Put a pin in that.
I'll come back.
Okay, we're going to go back to the rib stories. But Johnny Valentine, and I don't know if it stopped me if I did, folks. Folks, y'all just say, hey, Bruce, you already told this one before.
Are you talking into the recorder? You missed that. Bruce did not say that into the microphone.
I'm talking to our people. Hello? That's another story in and of itself, too. But so Johnny, okay, I grew up in El Paso.
Right.
Grizzly Smith was a big star in El Paso. And so Grizzly had shot an angle in El Paso with Harley Race. Grizzly had an iron stomach and would let people punch him in the stomach and do all these other strongman kind of gimmick things. And in El Paso, Harley Race says, oh, yeah? Well, I bet you that you can't take, if I got up on the top of a 6-foot ladder. 6 foot. That's like jumping off of a human being that's 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be like jumping off of a human being that was 4'9". 6-foot ladder.
Yeah.
And let me come across your stomach. And Harley got up on top of that ladder, and he came down, crashing across Grizzly Smith's neck and broke it. Carried Grizzly out on a stretcher, and Grizzly was gone, man. His career was over, never to be heard from again. And then I moved from El Paso, Texas to Houston, Texas. When I got to Houston, I found out that old Grizz had a miraculous recovery somewhere in there and was still doing that strongman thing with his stomach, which you would think he would have learned his lesson with Harley Race.
You would think.
But this time he did it with Johnny Valentine, and Johnny Valentine says, "Oh, yeah? Well, these guys are sitting there punching you and kicking you in your stomach. I bet you that you can't take a blow if I was to climb up to that top rope and came down on your stomach." You know that fucker did?
He didn't come down on his throat, did he?
Johnny came right off the top rope, right across Grizzly's neck and broke his neck, and they took Grizzly out on an ambulance on a stretcher, and he's gone forever.
Is that the first time you were, quote unquote, smartened up, or you realized, hey, wait,
I was devastated.
Yeah.
Hurt me a little bit inside.
It's like finding out there is no Santa Claus, which we know no one will ever know because there definitely is.
Yeah.
A Santa Claus.
So Johnny liked to rib.
My favorite part of that story is when he said Harley threatened to come across his belly. Anyway, so there were ribs. Johnny Valentine had ribs. Mr. Crockett told me once that they had to watch Mr. Valentine because whenever they would set out catering in old Crockett promotion shows, he would occasionally take a shit in a cup and then dump it in the country fried steak, cover it in gravy, stir it in real good, and just sit and watch. The idea being you had to hit that buffet before Johnny did. Got any other Johnny Valentine ribs?
Johnny was a mean ribber. Sounds like it. Johnny was one of those guys that kind of, and he had a sick, sadistic laugh. Kind of. One time there's a guy named Jay York. I believe this took place somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. Jay had an inhaler. Had asthma. And Johnny put lighter fluid in his inhaler. And Jay came back from the ring.
So while Jay's in the ring, Johnny goes in his bag, pulls the inhaler out, fills it full of lighter fluid, and then the kid comes back through looking for his inhaler. He's got asthma.
And it wants to breathe.
Sure.
And he hits the inhaler and takes in all this lighter fluid and thought he was going to die. And Johnny's laughing his ass off and all this stuff. And Jay went out and got a gun, came in to shoot Johnny.
Not so funny now.
Not so funny now. And Johnny, as legend has it, his eyes got big, and thank God enough guys got a hold of Jay, and Jay missed. But yeah, Johnny was mean like that. Johnny would he liked to do shit. But the best, on the flip side, like Johnny used to like pissing people's clothes and things like that, and their suitcase and everything.
Great.
So Johnny had a horrible airplane accident with a couple guys that you may know, like Bob Bruggers and
Richard.
Just different people that were on this plane, and the plane.
Oh, nobody else.
No, it was Bob Bruggers and Johnny Valentine.
Okay. Couple other guys.
And yeah, a couple other guys. Maybe. And but Johnny broke his back in the damn thing, and Johnny, would never walk without the aid of crutches and braces again. So Johnny was basically, some people would call him a cripple.
Oh,
because he was in a pretty bad way, and Johnny still liked to fuck with people because he was Johnny Valentine. So one night, at the White House Hotel on South Main in Houston, Texas. About 3 o'clock in the morning. He had been out drinking and partying and inhaling all kinds of things. And two people told me this story that were their eyewitnesses. And he told the exact same story.
So it's got to be true.
Well, it's got to be true because of the people that told it and how they told it. Ivan Koloff wasn't a big bullshitter.
No.
Ivan was pretty fucking
straight
guy. And Red Bastine was a fun guy, but Red would, tell us straight up. Red liked to have a good time. And they were going upstairs at the hotel, and Johnny's trying to navigate the stairs with his crutches, and his crutch went out from underneath him. And when he did, and he tried to catch himself, kind of like I did at the garden, The second crutch went flying.
Oh, no.
So now Johnny is sprawled out on the steps going up to the second floor at the White House Hotel. And he's like, laughing, ha ha ha, because he's drunk and high and all kinds of shit. And Johnny's laughing his ass off because he finds the humor in it that he can't walk and he's falling down and he can't get up. And he's got all his buddies there. And he's like, hey, God, Red, can you get me my crutches? Red says, God damn, John. Can't get up and get the crutch yourself? He says, no, Red, I can't get up without my crutches. I need my crutches. He says, so you can't get up at all? You can't move? He says, no, I need my crutches. He says, so let me get this straight. You cannot move. He says, no. And so Red just had to relieve himself at that point in time, and Red just kind of peed all over Johnny.
Right there in the hotel.
Right there in the fucking staircase going up to the second floor of the White House Hotel on South Main. It may still be there, and knowing that hotel,
They didn't replace the carpet.
I doubt they replaced the carpet from the 70s. Or it was probably, late 70s, early 80s. And Johnny laughed his ass off.
Because he knew.
He thought it was the funniest thing in the world.
He would have done it.
He would have done it. He thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Thought he was like,
Is that like a tradition in wrestling? You have, like, to get broke in, somebody has to pee on you?
No.
Okay. I just know Michael Hayes. I know Michael Hayes has peed on like 1,000 people.
Well, he's a sick bastard too.